What's going on, everyone? Miles here from Rings of Saturn and Interloper, and I'm here to talk to you today about seventh chords, inversions, voice leading, and tapping. So I want to show you guys some of the things I like to do with seventh chords, and specifically using them in tapping, and applying them with good voice leading, as well as having an understanding of what inversions are is going to be something we need to do first. So to go over that, basically a quick rundown of what inversions are chords played with different bass notes. So let me explain. If we take our C major scale, Ionian, we have 7 notes. So if we were to take the root, third, and fifth, also simply put as the first note, third note, and fifth note, that gives us a triad. Triad's a 3-note chord. So this is C major. We have C, E, and G being played. C is the bass note. Bass note is often confused with root. Root and bass note, not the same thing. Not the same thing. So the root is the letter name of the chord, and the bass note is the lowest sounding note. So in this particular instance, this chord is in root position because the root of the chord, C, is also in the bass. So if we wanted to put it in first inversion, all we would do is move E to the bass. So what we could do is slide up here. We have E in the bass now, then there's G, and then C. We have the 3 notes that make up this chord. We've just changed the bass note, giving it a different voicing, and now putting it in first inversion. So going from there, we have another note. We have our 5th that we have to account for. So the 5th was G. So what we could do is slide up to the 10th fret. There's G, now in the bass. There's C, our root, and E, all 3 notes of our triad. So that's how inversions work. Same thing applies with 7th chords. However, we have an additional note to factor, which would be a 3rd inversion. So now going from there, let's go into the 7th chords, and I'll give you a cool example of not only the chord progression and some voicings I like to use, I'll show you the tapping for it. So for this example, I'm going to be working in the key of E minor now. This is the relative minor of G major, which is 1 key away from C major, where our previous example happened. It has F sharp in it now, so 1 sharp instead of all naturals. So going straight into the progression, we're going to be doing a 1-4-5-1 progression. However, there will all be 7th chords, and we're going to start out with E minor 7. So we're going to do this, and then we're going to go to A minor 7 right here, and then from there we will be doing B7 right here. And that 5 chord has a strong harmonic pull back to 1, so what a surprise, that's where we go. So now looking at this, this is kind of where voice leading comes into play. Voice leading is the art, more or less, that's a very fancy way to put it, of getting from one chord to another in the smoothest way possible, all right? So if we were to play these without voice leading and having some smooth transitions from chord to chord, and we kept them all in root position, meaning the root of the chord is in the bass, we'd be doing this. Like that. Absolutely nothing wrong with doing that. It sounds just fine, but voice leading also does sound very nice when it's applied well. So going from there, let's look at what this means, and let's look at these inversions as I explained in the previous example. So we have this E minor 7 chord. E is in the bass. The 4 notes in this chord are E, G, B, and D. So E in the bass, the other 3 notes are there, E minor 7 chord, root position. So from there we went to this A minor 7 chord here. Notice our bass note didn't move. The fingering has changed, but our bass note is still on E. Our A minor 7 chord is made up of A, C, E, and G. So if we have E in the bass, 1, 2, 3, that's going to put us in second inversion because it'd be root position, first inversion, second inversion, G in the bass would be third inversion. So we have E minor 7 to A minor 7 in second inversion, and then we go to our B7 chord here. Notice our bass note has shifted down 1/2 step to a D sharp. Moments ago I mentioned that we only have 1 sharp in this key and it was F sharp. However, in common practice, you do your 5 chord as a dominant instead of minor. So we're going to raise up the 3rd, making it from a minor 3rd to a major 3rd, which is where we get our D sharp. So it's a common practice thing. We're still in E minor, but we do have an accidental, which is the D sharp. Now, looking at that D sharp, if we look at our 5 chord, which is our B7 chord, we have B, D sharp, F sharp, and A. So our D sharp is our 3rd, root, 3rd, 5th, 7th. So that puts us in first inversion as opposed to root or second or 3rd inversion. So now altogether we have a root position E minor 7 chord, second inversion A minor 7 chord, first inversion 5/7 chord, which is B7, and then we're going to go back to E. Dominant 7th chord, B7, has a very strong pull back to the root, which is E. So that's where we go. Very nice, smooth, common progression at that. So going from there, let's go ahead and get into how this works with tapping. So we're going to apply the same exact inversions and voicings, more or less, with the tapping as we did in this. So getting started, we're going to be doing string skipping, so we're going to be playing on our A string, G string, and E string, and we're just going to literally be going in order of the notes that appear in these chords. So what we have here is our E minor 7 root position. So we have E, G, B, D. So what we're going to do is hammer on E, hammer on G, tap B, going to our 7th now, skipping to the G string, we're going to do D, hammer on to E, which is our root. We've now started over the chord. We're doing G then, skipping over to the E string, B, our 5th, D, our 7th, back to E. We've played all the notes in an E minor 7 chord. Put it all together. Right? So now, keeping the voicing the same, we played our next chord, which is A minor 7 in second inversion. So our bass note is not going to change. Everything's going to stay in the exact same spot. However, we are going to have different notes involved, all right? So going from there, what we're going to look at is E. That's going to be our 5th. Our 7th is G. Hammer onto G. We're going to tap A on the 12th fret, which is our root. We're going to skip over to the G string. We're going to do C. Wow, C, which is our 3rd. Hammer onto E, our 5th. Tap G, our 7th. And then we're going to hop to the high E string and do A, C, E. We put that all together, we get this. So now, this is where our bass note changes. We slide down a half step to our D sharp, the 3rd of our 5-7 chord, our B7 chord. So what we can do now is D sharp, 3rd, F sharp, our 5th, A, there's our 7th. We're going to skip to the G string. We're going to go do B, D sharp, F sharp, so root 3rd, 5th, and now we're going to go to our high E string and do our 7th, which is A, root, which is B, and then D sharp, which is our 3rd. Put that all together. Lastly, we resolve up to our E minor 7 chord once again. So that's some cool stuff I like to do with tapping. You know, you can do this a million different ways. There's tons of different voicings you could use. I mean, we could have gone from E minor 7 to A minor 7 here. That works just fine. B7, and then to E minor 7. But this is just the particular voicing I liked and wanted to use for this example. So hopefully you guys got something cool out of this. It's a lot of fun using these kinds of things. You can apply this in so many different ways and so many, you know, aspects of writing and your playing, and even, you know, taking progressions you like from another band or something. If you're, you know, working on learning this and studying this, you know, there's a lot of cool things you can do to, you know, kind of try different variations of your own to get the grasp of it. So yeah, there's tons of great resources online. You know, Ultimate Guitar, for example, they have some great articles. And then yeah, Guitar Grimoire, Adam Cadmon makes a book, Scales and Modes, Chords and Voicings. Those are all great references as well. So, hope you guys enjoyed this lesson, and I'll see you next time.